Hi everyone, my name is Louise Bartlett and I look after member services here at Cube Wealth, and we have Satya Kathari with us as well.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining.
Today our webinar is going to be addressing the key concerns and barriers that people have to getting started with their investing. We've made it a real point to get to know our members here at Cube Wealth, and we've run some surveys. Very interesting to note that all of the pain points and fears that people have are things that we ourselves at Cube have also experienced. So the main points that people give us feedback on relate to: I don't know where to start my investments, I don't know who to trust, I don't have enough money, or someone else looks after my money, or again, I don't need to invest because I'm such a good saver. So they're the main things that people give us feedback on. So we thought we'd have a bit of a discussion about that and start with talking about the complexity of the Indian ecosystem. So Satya, you're obviously a little bit more of an expert on that than what I am, but what makes it so tough for people to get started with investing?
Thank you, Louise. And let me start by addressing two key things. One, you're not alone in this journey. I think everybody we've spoken to is suffering through one or more of these problems, including the team at Cube, and this is exactly why we are building this. Second, we really appreciate the heartfelt, personal responses we received on the survey with people's specific life stories and instances. And it just goes to show us that what we are trying to solve is really important to people's lives. I think we all suffer through these problems of not knowing how to start investing or thinking we are saving enough. Maybe we were trained by our parents into thinking that just putting some money aside regularly is enough, or putting it in a safe investment like a provident fund that you and your company put aside are more than enough for your retirement, along with some jewelry and maybe a house. I hate to break it to all of you, but with the inflation rate that we've seen in India in the last, I would say, 25 odd years since liberalization, you're actually getting poorer when you be that conservative with your investments. And that's reflected in the inflation that we all sense in our real lives every day. The cost of everything keeps going up. But guess what? Because the cost of everything's going up, there are companies that are profiting from the fact that everything is more expensive. And the way we can participate in that upside is by investing in those kind of companies. So if you look at the stock market in India in the last 25 odd years, it has outperformed any other investment type by a huge, huge amount. But the problem is most of us don't know this. Most of us aren't aware because nobody helps us that we can trust. And that's exactly what we are trying to solve at Cube.
Yeah, fantastic. What about people that think that investing doesn't matter and that as long as they're a good saver and they always have some money in the bank, they're covered?
Luis, this is such a great myth, and I love it because I know where it comes from. Again, as I mentioned, our parents really inculcated this sense of be responsible, don't spend too much, save. But what they didn't teach, because they didn't know it and also the dynamics were different when they were in their earning years, is what do you do with the money you save? Just leaving it aside is absolutely making you poorer, if I can put it bluntly. You can go to work 6 days a week for 40 years of your life, but if the money you save isn't put in the right place, you probably won't have enough for retirement, let alone all of life's expenses. And this is hard for most people to understand because they think they're doing everything right. They're working honestly, they're putting money aside, they're not buying fancy cars, and yet they're not ready for life. So how do you nail this? I think what you need is, one, a disciplined approach of saying, I need to contribute on a regular period, month by month. It doesn't matter what the stock market does. Don't get scared by it. It will go up, it will go down, guaranteed. Second, find people you can trust to advise you. So inside Cube, we have brought in the top tier advisors that were only available to the ultra rich before. But also the Cube platform guides you. For example, do not invest until you've set aside some money for an emergency fund. And Cube's emergency fund feature lets you do just that. Put aside 3 months if you're single and have no dependents. maybe 6 months if you have dependents. And this emergency fund should be kept in a smart vehicle which earns you twice as much as your typical bank account. So the Cube emergency fund feature puts it in a liquid fund. And right now we are seeing returns of 7.4%. No lock-ins. You can take the money out anytime you want. If, let's say, you decide to go on an impromptu vacation, or there's a medical bill, or there's a gap between your employment. Now, what this emergency fund does is lets you invest everything above and beyond the emergency fund without any stress of the short-term impact, because you're covered for life's emergencies and eventualities. I think this is part of the education, Louise, that most people don't even know or understand. And that's why they hesitate and they overcompensate by putting all their money in extra conservative investments.
And that comes back again to trusted advice and having the confidence to try new asset classes, modern asset classes, and then also understanding why diversification is very critical within a portfolio.
Absolutely. And again, here you need good guidance. The problem is, if you're your typical middle class, upper middle class person, who do you go to for guidance? You typically will be going to your bank, where the RM will try and help you out. Or there's a mutual fund distributor in your neighborhood, and they'll be very well-meaning. They'll show you mutual funds or options that have done well last year, but they don't understand how to diversify across a wide spectrum necessarily. So in Cube, what we do is, one, we create multiple asset classes that are modern and that are vetted by top-tier advisors. Second, we guide you. So if you go see the feature called Fantasy Portfolio, it actually asks you what kind of person you are, how much money you have every month. And based on that, it gives you a sample portfolio across multiple asset types and risk categories. It even lets you see that if you make that disciplined investment month after month, the magic of compounding kicks in over 10 to 20 years. And this, by the way, Luis, is the other thing which I don't think most people understand. It's simple mathematics. What's really hard to grasp is once you become regular, it becomes a curve which goes up like this. At the start, you feel you aren't saving that much. So it's slow. But compounding takes over. And around the 10-year mark, you see it going upwards. And around the 15-year mark, it really speeds up to the point where you, before you realize it, you'll have crores in the bank just by being a steady, regular investor. And those crores can literally free your life up to pursue a job you want, travel around the world, whatever you want. All of this, by the way, is in the Fantasy Portfolio feature that you can try out anytime now inside Cube.
Fantastic. So you've said again as well how important it is to find the right advisor. What's the process that we've used within Cube to bring the best advisors to the table? And, is it based on algorithm trading? Is it based on, who gives the best deal on the day? Perhaps it's based on, personal network and relationships. So What's the formula that you've used?
This is a great question, Louise. And I think the market changes depending on which geography you're in. For example, in the US and UK, which are more mature markets, or probably in Australia, where you're from, it's a steady market where algo trading or investing in simple index funds actually can do reasonably well for you. India is not that kind of market. It's more of an immature market. There's a lot of complexity. I'm a big fan. I used to live in the US, and I'm a big fan of investing in simple, low-cost funds in the US. And my portfolio in the US is super simple. I don't change it too much. I tried it in India when I moved here. Complete disaster, right? And you realize very quickly that this market is a lot more complicated.
So just for everyone that's listening, because everyone I know has had horror stories,
right?
And I'm sure people out there have had different experiences and heard some of the horror stories as well, but there is an option available.
There is an option.
You can turn it around.
Right. So I don't think India is ready for algo trading. I also don't think India is ready for being a stock picker or futures and options picker, unless you're willing to sit in front of a screen 10 hours a day and kind of roll the dice. I think the ready place in the middle, the sweet spot in the middle, is finding really top-tier advisors who actually have been in this market, studying it for the long term. And that's exactly our approach at Cube. It started with the advisors that we've used for our personal money and service providers. So the equity advisor as well as the mutual fund advisor you see inside Q, I've trusted them with my personal money for the last several years. And I've seen their style. It's not just about the returns, it's also about the approach. Do they take a long-term approach or not? Mm-hmm. And they have this beautiful long-term approach about what the potential of India is and Indian industry is. And then within that approach, they make really smart long-term bets. Similarly, for our gold product and for our upcoming products, we have other people who have tried these services. We vetted these services at the back end with due diligence, saying, are they backed by the right people? Do the promoters have the right credentials? Now, obviously, nothing is guaranteed, but what you can take assurance from is that we put our personal money in these services first, tried and tested them before we bring them into Q.
It's a great approach. So you're getting industry-backed research to find the best, and then there's that personal integrity layer, bringing that to the
absolutely. And Luis, one thing I would like to emphasize, because all of us react emotionally to money, especially when money goes down, right? When you lose money. And I'll mention an anecdote. Just yesterday, I was talking to one of my fund managers because that portfolio wasn't doing very well. It's not somebody we brought into Cube yet because it's a very aggressive portfolio. And I wasn't happy with the performance. But he reminded me that when he met me a year and a half ago, he said, are you ready to invest for 4 years at least with me? And he said, it's only been 18 months, Satyen. You are violating our handshake deal that you trust me for 4 years. And that's absolutely true, because over the long term, quality companies shine. Over the short term, it's kind of a bet in the casino. So if you are looking for a short-term get-rich-quick scheme, please disconnect right now. Cube's not for you. But if you're looking for something which is long-term, steady discipline, Cube is absolutely the right vehicle, because I personally haven't seen anything like this anywhere in the world.
Right. And one of the things I observed with coming over is the amount of time it takes here to do the research on who you should trust, and then you have to go to somewhere and you have to speak to someone for a few hours and drink some chai, and then come back a week later and talk about it for another 3 hours, and maybe a month or so you're feeling confident enough to make a decision. One of the things that we say here at Cube is that everything, in relation to your money or your wealth creation, your money management, your budgeting and so forth, can be done in 1 minute per month. So how is that possible when everybody else out there is spending days and weeks every year on trying to create wealth for themselves?
Luis, I was spending a good part of this morning, and I'll show this to you guys, filing paperwork for a little insurance claim for my car, right? So we all love India, and we all know India is a pain when it comes to any sort of paperwork. And we felt the same paperwork pains when we were investing. I think what we're getting a lot of love from our users and our members inside Cube is how easy we made it to get started. You literally need just your bank checkbook in front of you and a PAN card. And that's it. Within less than 5 minutes, you'll get started with complete guidance. No complex text, no complex rules to read. You just tap, 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 get started. Pick your preferences, and they're preferences. You're not committing to anything long-term like a SIP. Just pick your preferences, start with 30,000 rupees. Many people come and tell me, I don't have 30,000. I ask them, do you have 30,000 sitting in the bank for next month's rent? Guess what? Start with that 30,000, because we will give you double the rate of return in that 1 month that you have to wait till your rent is due. You can withdraw it right away, within minutes actually, to your bank account. But it gets you started, and that taking that first step is critical, because it starts that journey of discipline, right? It's like going out to a gym for working out. Unless you show up to the gym the first time to register, nothing's going to work. And every day, if you show up to the gym, it's not going to work. Cube is a lot easier than that. Once a month, once you get set up in 5 minutes, once a month you get a reminder saying, hey, Luis, it's time to do your thing to make your money. You look at that list, all your preferences are there. You can just say okay if they're okay, and it's literally 10 seconds. If there's a change in that month, for example, you have extra money, you can tap a button and change the amount. You have less money, you can change that as well. But either way, it's less than a minute to invest across international mutual funds, India mutual funds, equities, gold. It's insane. And even put your money, which is sitting in a bank, towards goals such as a vacation coming up at Diwali or a car EMI payment. You can put all of that inside Q and be assured that you're always earning more and you have full control over the money.
Wow. So it is really that simple and convenient.
We hate paperwork as much as everybody else. And I would want that 1 hour of my life back when I was filing these insurance papers this morning.
It's gone forever, unfortunately. Keep investing in Cube and we'll save some more time. So another thing that members have mentioned to us as well is if they're not managing their own money, is Cube still an option for them?
That's a great question. It depends. It depends on how comfortable you are with your current financial advisor. It depends on what rates of return that financial advisor is giving you. A lot of us have the tendency, and first of all, congratulations, you've taken the first step, finding somebody who manages your money, and you're already on the right path. But the second step is as important, which is how's your money doing? Are you checking in regularly with your financial advisor? Let's say at least once a quarter, if not once a month, to see how your portfolio is doing. Is the format in which you have presented that information understandable by you? Look, it's your money, right? If it's buried within 20 pages of PDFs and PowerPoints with lots of information and yarn about the Indian stock market, and your portfolio is buried in the corner, let me give you a hint. There's a good chance you're not performing as well as you think. But because if it's really doing well, they'll be talking about it a lot more. And I'm not saying every advisor isn't performing as well as the market, but you also have to evaluate how it's performing compared to what the average market is giving you. So the Indian Sensex, if it's giving you 20% last year, and you're paying an advisor, they better be giving you more than 20%. So what we would like you to do is take a look at those returns, take a look at our asset classes and what our historical returns have been. We obviously can't guarantee those, but what we've done is we've picked advisors who have a long track record of doing it right. They've had down years as well, but over the long term, they've beaten the market handily. And I think that's what you're looking for in top quality advice. So give us an apples to apples comparison and see if either if you're not doing as well as your advisor, that's amazing. Please send me the name of that advisor. I would like to invest my money and recruit them inside Q. But I'm pretty confident our advisors are some of the best in the industry. And what you could do is get started with a small portion of your portfolio inside Q while your advisor still manages the existing portfolio. Compare us, see us if we are simpler, we are easier to track your portfolio. For example, our tracking is super simplified because I got sick of seeing 7 PowerPoints showing all kinds of information I didn't care about. What do I really care about? How much money do I have? How much profit did I make? What profit percentage was that? And that's literally what you see inside Cube for all your asset classes. That's simple.
Right. And so because we obviously offer the ability for people to save for an emergency fund or to customize their own goals, and then we have the wealth creation options.
Right.
Do people starting out have to do all of the options?
Good question. The way we've structured it is it has multiple steps. If you think about it, first thing, as I said, set up an emergency fund. That's an option inside Q. Second, you have short-term expenses coming up. Things in the next 6 to 12 months, such as trips, insurance payments, children's fees. Set those up in Cube and we use EMI to save for those. In both of these options, you earn about 7%. Automatically way better than your bank and without any restrictions. And then the third is once you're done with these, you really can be talking about investments. But we understand that while this is the preferred flow, everybody's not ready for that. So when you start with Q, you can pick from any of these 3 options to start. And even within investments, you can pick any particular asset type. You can start with a mutual fund, international, or a domestic fund, or equity or gold. Just get started is my heartfelt advice, saying, unless you take that first step, you don't know whether you'll be on that journey.
I think getting started is the most important. We're just going to check to see if there's been any other questions come through while we're chatting online here. Oh, yes. So somebody's just made a comment saying that they've heard about us through their daughter and they want to join. So that's really exciting. So thank you. We do have some exciting things coming up in the app that will include the ability to send referrals on to a limited number of people as well.
Absolutely. So we've constantly been building since our launch on the 1st of June. We've heard the feedback from users. For example, you will see in this weekend's release a lot more education, thanks to Louise right here, on how different asset classes are explained, how we go around picking them, what our advisors are, and FAQs around that. So mutual funds, equities, everything is explained in super simple layman's terms, but in more detail than the first release had, because we realized users were still confused about that. The second fun feature is look forward to our updated website coming soon, hopefully next week. And the easiest way to get an invitation inside Cube, actually, there are two easy ways. One is, if you know a Cube member, ask them to give you an invite code. That feature should be out next week, so friends can invite their friends first. Everybody else goes on a wait list. But the trick, the hint to jump that wait list is go to our website, register to be on the wait list, and tweet about us. We like people talking about us. We are not shy about that. And that just makes you jump the queue a little bit.
So we fast track anyone who tweets when they sign up on our website.
Exactly. And we have two other exciting new features coming up next week. But you just have to become a member to find out.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I think that's what we're going to cover for today. And please leave us some feedback on this video for you. And we look forward to answering any other questions you have. Thanks very much.
Thank you, guys.